Martha was the eldest sibling of Mary and Lazarus. Martha and Mary lived in a town near Jerusalem named Bethany that was later referred to as the village of Mary and her sister Martha. To this day, little is known about the circumstances by which Mary and Martha lived independently and unwed. One possibility is that their parents died, so they were left orphaned and without a dowry.
Mary and Martha were very different from one another. Martha was known to be the practical, task-oriented sister, while Mary was more of a thinker and a dreamer. This difference in personalities left them at odds frequently. Martha often stressed about what needed to be done and worried about what needed to be cleaned. A rabbi named Jesus often came to their house with his disciples. One of such times, Jesus and his disciples came over and Martha was stressing about putting forth an adequate meal and being a good hostess, while Mary simply sat and listened to Jesus.
It is commonplace for people to think that Mary was the good sister and Martha was the bad sister because of their respective roles and interactions with Jesus. But in the Bible, Jesus never directly stated that what Martha was doing was wrong. Jesus simply stated that Mary chose the better of the things, which was to listen to him. Jesus said that Martha was more preoccupied with physical aspects of life, while Mary sometimes ignored some typical social roles. Although Martha's lifestyle was not wrong, Jesus was an advocate for the lifestyle that Mary had chosen. Jesus stressed that it was important for Martha to worry less and allocate more of her time to forming strong relationships because that is what truly matters.
Martha was a personal friend of Jesus, and so when Mary and Martha's brother Lazarus died, Martha shows up once again in the Gospels. Lazarus was already dead for 4 days when Jesus came and found the sisters in deep mourning. Martha, being the more hospitable sister, went into town to welcome Jesus when she states in John chapter 11, verse 27, "I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who has come into the world." This statement was astonishing because Martha was known to not be as firm of a believer as Mary. Martha, even after making this statement, was not fully convinced that Jesus could save Lazarus. But after her proclamation of faith, Jesus brought Lazarus back to life and said, "If thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God."
Martha also is known to be the star of a myth in Provence. Within the myth, Martha with her brother Lazarus and her sister Mary and many others were put into a ship without sail or oars and came to the territory of Aix-en-Provence. After coming to shore, Martha went into the woods and found a dragon named Tarasque eating a man. She cast holy water on the dragon and showed him the cross. Tarasque was overcome, and while he was standing senseless, she bound him with her own girdle, and then he was slain with the spears of the people.
Martha, being known for her hospitality, is often portrayed in Christian art wearing homely garments with a ladle or skimmer in her hand and a bunch of keys hanging from her girdle. Her hospitable manner has led her to become the patron saint of homemakers, cooks, innkeepers, domestic servants, and those whose work focuses on hospitality. Most often, she is portrayed to be doing work in the kitchen, usually with her sister Mary and Jesus in the foreground. Also, it is common to see her portrayed at the tomb of Lazarus, crossing the sea heading towards France, or with a dragon at her feet or on a leash.
Can you talk about Martha's significance in the Bible and maybe compare that to that of her sisters, Mary?
Yeah, so I always think Martha and Mary are really interesting to think about because they're clearly some of Jesus' best friends. Lazarus, he actually talks about when Lazarus dies, like, my good friend Lazarus. You see him hanging out, you see Jesus hanging out with Martha and Mary, in several occasions. So clearly they're really important friends. And Martha seems to be the one, that is traditionally seen as kind of the more focused on like the work and the getting things done, and she's the one who gets upset when Mary seems to not be doing what she thinks is her fair share of the work. And so there's Martha who's preparing things for this nice meal when Jesus is in the house, and Mary just is hanging out with Jesus, and Martha gets upset at that. So.
Overall, there has been a history of interpretation of Martha as a busybody and somebody who's more focused on the appearance of things rather than really truly being present. This contrasts Mary's ability to let go of all social expectations, which allows her to just be with Jesus. Initially, people saw Martha as missing the point, while on the other hand, Mary understood. Martha's main priority was to make sure that Jesus was the most important person and the most well taken care of. The way Martha interacted with Jesus was in a way a type of deep conversation through which she recognizes that he is the one. It's unfortunate that people often overlook her faith because they do not recognize how it is portrayed, and it's typically overshadowed by Mary's glorified faith.